Hello, my name is James O'Brien and welcome back to part 2 of the 4 mistakes commonly made by recruiters when assessing candidates for a role. Last week, we covered the first 3 points, which were all about a one-dimensional approach to recruitment, not identifying the internal candidates, and number 3, about utilising key competency questions or not using them in the process. And I left you last week with the thought that we'd this week talk a little bit more about behavioural assessment. Now, behavioural assessment goes by some different names. You might know it as psychometric profiling or even psychometric testing, but trust me, it's the same tool. Now, the mistake most people make in recruiting is that they actually don't use this service. And those people or those employers that do use it typically use it towards the end of their process. Now, it's good that they use it because at least they're open to the idea of using it, but quite often they actually don't know why they're using it. It's a bit, again, part of a tick box exercise. Yes, we profile the candidate, we read the report, and it looks okay. Yeah, so they've made that as part of their process, but not really in the knowledge of why it's there. Well, the way that we utilise it, and the way that we believe you can utilise it in your business, is actually to identify and use it as part of your engagement with the client. Engage them to identify what is it that's going to determine success in your organisation. You see, success is not determined by a candidate's CV or their prior knowledge and experience. It's part of it. But actually, what determines whether somebody will succeed in your organisation? If we think about this for a moment in recruitment, it's very easy to look back in recruitment. And depending on how long your career has been in recruitment, you may have seen people come in who've been apparently successful in company X. They come to your organisation, but they're not all they're cracked up to be. They don't deliver what you expect them to be. Well, why is that? They were successful over there. Why can't they be successful here? Well, what's different? Well, the company's different. The environment's different. Yeah, the circumstances are different. So how are those being addressed and taken into consideration in the hiring process? Well, the way that we do that is actually we work with the hiring team first of all. We work them to identify and assess what does someone need to be successful in your organisation. You know, what type of person are you looking for? Now, they'll say, we're looking for a good team player, somebody who's going to fit in. Well, that's a little bit too vague and a little bit too generic. So here's where we inject some science and technology into the process and use a short online assessment, highly accurate. But what that's able to do is we're then able to share that with the employer and say, this is what we think we're looking for. Would you agree? Now, when we've sought consensus and got agreement, we then have multiple layers. You know, we've got to find candidates with the right skills, knowledge and experience. They've got to have the right CV. Make sure that one-dimensional approach is covered off. But then we actually get the chance to assess the candidates and look at them in a slightly different way. What type of person are they? Now, I'm sure you'll agree, not everybody is the same, thank goodness. And I'll take you back to your school days. You know, go back and remember when you're at school. Remember the types of people in the class. And there were probably 2 or 3 different groups. And I don't mean cliques, I mean different types of people. There might have been the outgoing, gregarious, loudmouth ones, yeah? Those type of individuals. What type of personality characteristics have they got? Very extrovert, for example. You then might have had the ones who are a little bit more considered, yeah? Not quite extrovert, but certainly not introvert, but, people who consider things, and then they'd actually sort of go with their views. And then maybe on the other end of the spectrum, you might have people who are introverted in terms of quite quiet, very studious, for example. Well, they've all got different types of personalities. And what we're able to do nowadays is actually look at the individual and see what type of person is that organisation looking for. You see, let's just say you're recruiting a sales manager for an organisation. Well, what type of sales manager does that organisation want? And what type of sales manager is going to fit into that organisation? Well, is it somebody outgoing and extrovert? Well, you might think so. But what if it's a very technical product? They might need somebody in a slightly different way. So what we're able to do here is identify the client, what type of person are you looking for? And we'll then determine whether they are. Think about it for a moment. If you've got an extrovert salesperson, so an extrovert sales manager, and the sales director or the MD says, how are we going to do this week? Well, if they're extrovert and outgoing and enthusiastic and very highly social, and say, hey, we're feeling great this week, we're going to smash our targets all this month, yeah? So you've got that type of person. You've then got somebody doing the same job in another organisation that says, well, how are we doing this month? Well, it depends. Well, what do you mean it depends? Well, it depends on this and depends on that. If this happens and that happens, then that could happen. But if that doesn't happen, this might not happen, in which case we won't hit the target. They explain it in a different way because their mindset, their approach, their temperament are different. They're different types of individuals, yet they're both doing the same job. What type of person does your client want? Well, now you can actually help them identify what it is that determines success in that organisation. I've seen so many examples of where employers get it wrong. Not deliberately, unintentionally, they hire the wrong person. They've been seduced to interview by the way that somebody comes across at interview. And because they're very emotional at an interview, they want the person to be good in front of them, they sometimes hear what they think they need to hear, rather than looking a little bit deeper and finding out, actually, that person won't do the job the way we want it to be done. They're not the right type of person for us. And what we're able to do is assess and evaluate those individuals on behalf of the client to make sure they make the right hiring decision. Now, when you deliver that type of process to your clients, that's when you've got a truly consultative process. You're not likely to make the mistakes that a transactional contingent recruiter is just going to do by actually, ticking boxes and actually making sure that somebody's got the right knowledge, skills and experience. Because any recruiter can do that within reason. Any recruiter can find a great CV to seduce the client. Actually, you've got to make sure you don't make the other mistakes and actually deliver a more comprehensive service to employers so that they can trust you to find the right person. And that person is going to stay with them for the medium to long term. That's the type of process we put in here at iIntro. And if you want us to help you deliver that type of service, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to share with you how our process will make you different in the marketplace. So please click the link below, book some time with me or one of my colleagues, and we'll look forward to seeing you really soon.